welcome back to A Bookish Heart with Shauna. This video is going to be about several topics. First, I'm going to be talking about this book I just finished, Stormfront by John Sandford. I'm not doing a full review on this book. I don't have much to say about it, except it was alright. I would say it was decent, about 3 stars. I didn't love it, I didn't hate it. This book was recommended to me based on a reading prompt. I was looking for a prompt of a book with a badass main character. So this one was recommended for that, and so I decided to read it. And I will say, I do agree the character Virgil Flowers is badass. He's a southern cop, I think, in Texas, with his cowboy hat and his cowboy boots, and he is very tough and a badass character. Until after I finished this book, I wasn't aware that it was actually part of a series. This author has written many Virgil Flowers books. I think this is the 8th or 9th. You can read it as a standalone, which obviously I did because I haven't read any others, and I have never read anything else by John Sandford, but I guess he's a common author. I was actually reading this book at work in the break room, and another employee came in and said, "What are you reading?" And I showed them, and she said, "Oh, I love John Sandford." And I got multiple comments about this author, so I guess he's well known. So that just shows that I live under a rock. No, it means I guess I don't read much mystery. But I did like this. I do like mystery once in a while. Other than that, the only thing I'll say is that it was a decent storyline, but I didn't love it. Like, by the end, by the last 30 pages, I didn't care anymore. I didn't care if I finished it. I didn't care about what happened to these characters. It wasn't spectacular. And when I was reading the reviews of it on Goodreads, I found out that something I didn't notice, which it's actually a collaboration. If you look on the inside cover right here on the acknowledgements, it says, "I wrote this novel with help from my partner, Michelle Cook, journalist and screenwriter, and now a novelist." So basically, his wife or partner wrote this book, and he published it under his name. So I got the impression that this book was not typical to his normal style. As I said, I haven't read any other of his books or any other Virgil Flowers novels, but from a lot of the reviews I was reading, people said, for others who have read this series and are a fan of this series, that this one was a huge letdown. It was a very different style, and basically people could tell that he didn't write it. Even though I haven't read much else by him, I'd have to agree with this assessment that it seems odd. The writing style is odd, and it was a disappointing book. I think that kudos for his wife for wanting to be a novelist, but maybe she should have written an independent book, like something else, because I almost feel like by him helping her write this book or publishing it under his name as a Virgil Flowers novel, it's setting people up for disappointment, because it's never going to be as good or the same as his other books. So fans that love this series are going to be disappointed in it, whereas if she had written a separate novel, whether she published it under her name or his name, but people might go into it without such high expectations of it to live up to the rest of this series, and they might be more open to it. So that's my thoughts on this. Just the writing style was weird. There was a couple weird descriptions. None of the characters were really described fully. He would just say she was a middle-aged woman with blonde hair, or, that could be thousands of people. Was she plump? Did she have wrinkles? Was her hair short or long? Did she dress stylish? I mean, did she have blue eyes, green eyes, brown eyes, a big nose? I mean, you have to give me more than that. A lot of these characters I couldn't picture. The descriptions were strange. There was one part where this lady that he's interviewing says that something smells the way a telephone pole smells. And, like, what do telephone poles smell like? Like, I thought that was a really strange description. Like, is she trying to say it smells like wood? It smells like, I mean, wood and wires in the rain. I mean, I just don't get it. There's many other things you could have said, but who goes around smelling telephone poles, and who says that? Like, some of the descriptions just seemed like they were trying too hard to be unique, and they were so strange. But yeah, so that's it about that book. The next thing I wanted to talk about is, I know this probably doesn't matter to some of you readers, but I'm so excited. My local library, I live in a small town, okay, so it's not like a big city library, but I love the library. I personally can't afford to keep buying books, so the library I go there all the time. The librarians know me by name. They're very friendly. They have lots of good activities. They have a book club. A couple months ago, we got some bad news that because the Ontario government cut the funding, the library would be stopping the interlibrary loan program. So what this means is, if the library doesn't have a certain book, like they have a certain budget each year to buy books, so they don't buy every book that gets published, every book in existence, obviously. So if you want to read a book that the library doesn't have, they can order it in for you. So you put in a request, they go online and they search for any other libraries in Ontario that have that book, and then the library sends it to them through the mail, and then they tell you when it's in, and you read it and you return it, etc. So it's very useful, because it's useful for the library. They don't have to buy copies of every book. It's useful for the clients, because you can read a variety of things, because there's no way a small town library is going to have everything. So I was very disappointed when the interlibrary loan service stopped. Even my book club, we did not know if we were going to be able to continue, because, I mean, if we're all going to read the same book, we have to order 8 to 10 copies of it, and usually our library only has one copy of it, so then the librarian has to order in all the rest through interlibrary loan from other libraries, so we each have a copy to read. So yeah, so the last couple months we've been picking classics, like the one we picked to read over the summer is A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. Because we were trying to find classics that would be easily accessible to everyone, or that everybody could find on an e-reader, because the e-readers have a lot of classic books for free. Yeah, so I was very disappointed. I did a test. I have a list of books, my to-be-read books that I want to read, which is over, I think, up to about 100 books now, and not including books on my shelf that I already own. This is just ones that I got recommendations for from YouTube channels, or books that look really interesting that I don't own that I want to read. So I wrote down maybe 5 or 6 of them. I went to the library on their catalog and I searched for the titles. They had one of them, 1 out of 6 books. Like, their YA fantasy and just their YA section in general, which is mostly what I want to read, is very lacking. And they barely have anything that I'm interested in. So not being able to order them in was a huge blow. But I just got good news. On the library's Facebook page, maybe 2 days ago, they posted that The interlibrary loan service will be reinstated, so that's so great. That's so great. They're putting a cap on it because they only got partial funding, so the library has to pay for the postage fees out of their own funding. So they're putting a cap on the limit you can request. So each client of the library can only request 3 books per month, which is perfectly fine by me. I mean, you can still read other books that the library have, but you can only request 3 books to be ordered in per month, and I'm not a fast reader, so I'm not going to be ordering more than 3 books a month anyway, because I can't read more than 3 or 4 books a month as it is. So I'm so excited to hear that. I'm going to be donating money to the library whenever I can towards their postage fees, and I really hope they can continue this, because this has been so important. I mean, even for kids, like kids in high school who have a project to do, or they have to do a book report and they have to read a book. I mean, what if the library doesn't have that book? How are they supposed to do their homework on it? I think this is a very important service, and I find it very sad that the government thinks libraries are non-essential, and libraries are something that the funding should be cut for. I think libraries, hospitals, and schools should be fully funded. But anyway, in these days, schools don't even have a library, not around here anyway. When I was growing up, I remember my elementary school had a library in it, so we would have library class, or on our spare we could go to the library. And they didn't have computers in the library. We had a computer lab that was separate, but I loved my school library, and it had big tables you could sit and do homework. It had shelves of books. Now the schools take class trips to the town library, but they don't have an actual school library, which I think is really sad. In each classroom will have tablets or computers, but they don't have a school library. Like, how are we supposed to encourage kids to enjoy reading and to love libraries? I mean, yeah. So that's my good news. And another book I just finished, which I actually read as an ebook, is Finale, the 3rd book in the Caraval series. The reason I read it as an ebook, which I don't normally do, is because, as I said, because of the interlibrary loans being stopped, my library doesn't have this series and was not able to order it in. So I had to buy the book. I looked on Amazon and I didn't feel like paying $25 or $28 for the paperback version, so the ebook was $10.99, so I downloaded that on my tablet. I don't have an actual e-reader. It's a tablet, but it works as an e-reader. It's the Amazon Fire 10, so it's an Amazon Kindle tablet, so any books that I download on Amazon go automatically to my tablet. So I read it on there, and I'm going to be posting a review in the next couple days, a full review of the book Finale, which I will say I loved. I just finished it yesterday and I'm already missing it. But I just wanted to talk for a few minutes about the ebook format. Post some comments below. Who likes ebooks? Who hates them? Who has never read one? Do you guys prefer paper books or ebooks? What about audiobooks? Personally, I've never really listened to audiobooks. I mean, back in the 90s, we had those CD stories on tape or cassette where you could like read the book and listen along to the cassette, and they would read the story to you, which was so cool when we were kids. But I've never actually listened to a full audiobook. But I find that it would have to be a good narrator. Then I'm very picky about who would narrate it. My tablet, actually, if you're reading an ebook, there's a text-to-speech button you can click, and it will read the book to you. But I find that it's very robotic. Like, the narrator on that sounds like you're talking to Siri or the iPhone assistant. It doesn't sound like a real person, and that's distracting to me. But if it was a good narrator, I could probably read one. But I've just recently been getting into ebooks. This is the second book. I read Legendary as ebook, and then I read Finale as an ebook. And I downloaded a bunch of other ebooks onto my tablet that were free or cheap. So now I have some more to read. So my thoughts is, I still love paper books. I mean, I love the smell of them. I love the feel of them. I love being able to highlight or sticky note certain pages or dog-ear the pages, to flip to different parts easily. I mean, I just love the format of books. I love that. I don't know, I just love books. I mean, I love everything about them, but the ebooks I find is, I just don't like that everything is going towards technology, because what if this system ever crashed, or Amazon got hacked, or my tablet broke? I would lose access. Would I lose access to all these books that I bought? I feel like if I have a book, a hard physical copy of a book, then I'm like, once I have it, it's mine. Unless, like, a fluke, like my house catches on fire or floods, or someone breaks into my house and decides to steal books, like a well-read burglar. Once I have it, it's mine. Like, I know it's physically there, I can see it, nothing's happening to it. But I just feel like I can loan it. I mean, I can carry it with me, I can loan it to people. But if I have an ebook, I mean, how am I supposed to loan that to my mom? How am I supposed to mail it to someone when I'm done with it? What if my tablet breaks or something happens and I lose the digital copy of it? It just feels like digital things are not permanent, and that scares me. That being said, I don't mind the format. I finally figured out how to highlight passages on my tablet. This is my tablet. It's the Amazon Fire 10. It's pretty nice. I got my kids the Fire 8, which is basically the same as this, but with less memory. I wanted more memory so I could store more apps and more ebooks on it. As I said, I've read 2 full books now as an ebook, and I actually don't mind it. I like that it even adjusts the brightness. Like, if I'm reading and it's in the shadows, it will basically be darker, but then if I put my tablet right close to my reading lamp, the screen brightness will go up. It's like it senses the light level and adjusts accordingly, so I thought that was really cool. I like that I can highlight different passages and remember them, and it's kind of interactive. Like, it shows you, as you're reading, it will show a passage that other people have highlighted. Like in this book, if you look at the bottom there, you can see how at the bottom there's kind of like a dotted line. I don't know if you can see it on here. Underneath the bottom text, there's like a dotted line, and it shows you how many people have highlighted that. This one says 401 highlighters. So it's basically showing passages that are popularly highlighted, and then it keeps track of all the passages you highlight. So I think that's pretty useful. So yeah, I'd love to hear everyone's thoughts on what you think about ebooks versus physical copies. versus audiobooks. And that's my little format discussion. And yeah, check back soon. I'll be posting a review for Finale. And the next book I'm going to be starting is The Raven Boys, so I'm going to be starting that tonight. And I hope everyone's having a great month. I'm sorry for the background noise in this video. It's actually my air conditioner because we finally got sunny and hot weather here. Until 4 days ago, it was raining and felt like spring in June. So now I need my air conditioner, so it's making more background noise, but the next time I make a video, I'm going to try to do it in a different room or outside or have a different background, and hopefully it won't be so distracting. So thanks for watching. Share with your friends so we can get more subscribers, and take care. Bye for now.
That's all, folks.